It's going to be CatLab11. This is our thoracic cavity. So we have all the ribs here. What I would usually have you do is clean up the ribs and show us the entire rib cage. But we're going to just simply find the bottom of the rib cage, and we are going to start exposing that thoracic cavity. Now remember, there's 3 types of ribs. There's the true, the false, and the floating. So at least see one of these floating ribs down here before we move on. True ribs again have their own connection to the sternum. False ribs all share a connection to the sternum. And our floating ribs are right here, which don't have any attachment to the sternum. Let's cut out some of the muscle around them. And at least see this floating rib down here. There's one of the floating ribs, and then we have the false ribs here, and they all attach to the sternum. Notice there's a big chunk of cartilage or fat right there at the end of the xiphoid process, the very bottom of the sternum. Attractive. And angle it down here. So as we open this thing up, right, we're going to see a little part of the liver right there. And if you look up in this way, spread that back, maybe move my hands out of the way, you can see it. Still can't see it very well. Let's see. Oop. Pull that back out of the way. That membrane right here. Right, that's the diaphragm. You can also notice the green little area on the gallbladder right there, or the liver. That's the gallbladder. Okay. But that diaphragm, right, goes all the way around. Right. There's a tissue right here that I'm pulling on. Let's see if I can get my probe on it. Right. That's, well, come on, kitty. That one right there. Oh, there it is. Right there. That ligament right there, that's the coronary ligament, attaches to the liver. And then down here, you see the ligament that's attached to the side of the liver. It's a falciform ligament. So coronary falciform ligaments. Let me get back to the lab. We're gonna cut through the rib cage here. Move some of that fat out of the way again. Big storage place for our body's fat is right at the end of that sternum. Hear those crunching? Cut through each of the rib attachment to the sternum. Now, as we're doing this, you need to be a little bit careful on when we're looking up here in this area. Okay, we're going to try to be finding the thyroid gland up there. Okay, so there is the better view of the diaphragm. We want to detach the diaphragm from the body wall. So just cutting that muscle. Okay, so that's all the diaphragm is, just that little flap of muscle tissue. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just cut the diaphragm away from the body wall. There's maybe a better view of the falciform ligament if I move my hand out of the way. But that, yeah, tissue right there. I attached to the side of the liver. I'm going to break that off. Okay, we're starting to see some things in there. Just spread the ribs down a little bit. These are the lungs. It's a lung tissue. Heart in the middle. Take the other side of the rib cage off. See things a little bit better here. Take that whole ribs cage off here. Same thing to the other side. So we're starting to see our rib cage and our heart here. And we'll take that side off also. Rib sticking up. And move the camera down a little bit. Review it. Have our heart, lungs, other side, lungs. So we have these different lobes of the lung. Right? Lobe, lobe, lobe. So this side, the left side of the cat, 3 lobes of the liver. Right side of the cat, what do you think? Think we'll have the same? Lobe, lobe, lobe. But looky here, another lobe. So right side of the cat has 4 lobes. Left side, only 3. All right, let's see. So, shiny layer. Sorry, I didn't even see how there's like a gleam, almost like it's reflecting light. Gleam on the lung. That's called the pleura. We saw the same type of pleura on the inside of the rib cage. Right? And they're just membrane linings. You have to tell me the difference. 2 types of pleura. Right? All right. What 2 major organs in the thorax would be lined with pleura? Well, in the thoracic cavity, we only have really 2 major organs. This one and this one in the center. You should be able to recognize what that organ is. Right in between your lungs. All right. So we need to uncover the trachea a little bit. So, if you remember, when we did the mouth, the top of the trachea was that little flat thing right there, which is the epiglottis, covers it, and it has the hole that enters into the trachea. You see the trachea here? So our goal is to uncover the trachea, and this is where we want to kind of be careful, because as we're cutting the trachea and exposing it, moving the pec muscles out of the way, we're looking for a little reddish orange kind of gland. Move my camera. That sometimes when we're cutting those muscles, just is taken out accidentally. Alright. See that gland right there? Right there. Right? That is the thyroid gland. Right? Now we're going to go ahead and remove it now. We don't need it, but it's sometimes not real visible. Okay, just work on the trachea now. Okay, so we're going to put the blunt into the scissors on top of it, make sure we're not cutting into the trachea, and we're just going to cut that muscle tissue, maybe with a scalpel. Get that under there. Break some of those ribs. And get some of this tissue out of the way. Better view of our trachea, put it back into the mouth. You can see that. Missed the opening, didn't I? Oh, there it is. Right there. There's your windpipe. Move it around. Right here. Cut some more pieces of these ribs off. I don't know how clear that view is for you, but you can see some arteries and veins here going to the arms. I'm going to try to leave those alone. It's the brachial artery and brachial veins. I'm just going to try to uncover as much of that as we can without damaging those arteries. Big vein showing up. Trying to get perspective. You can join me in that. A big old vein there. It's going to be branching right here to our jugulars coming up. See that coming? Right, goes to both sides. Branch there, and here you'll notice that that is going to be leading. Another blue vein leading right here, which we'll name later. It's our, looks like our zygous vein. There. They're both leading right into the heart. Okay, move the heart around a little bit and take, see that? Maybe the view's not great, sorry about that. Okay, there's a lot of fat covering the heart. Take some of that fat off. You can really tell the shiny layer on the heart too. fat off of there. Okay, now this is an older cat, covering most of the heart. Usually, there's the thymus gland, and this cat's thymus gland is very small. The thymus gland actually is the gland that gets smaller as a cat gets older. And the thymus gland doesn't really have much left at all of it, so it usually looks like a pretty big cloud that covers most of the heart. But in this particular cat, the thymus gland is only maybe about a half an inch long. So it's an older cat. Same thing happens with the humans. The thymus gland kind of shrinks in size as you get older. So, yeah, mine's probably pretty small. Alright, so while we're at it, we can also uncover one of the major arteries. In fact, we're talking about our aorta. Figure out how to get you a good view of it. Well, we might just have to wait until we get there. It's coming up. Alright, well, the heart is still covered in this pericardial sac, so take off some of the sac here. Peel it away. I think this particular step isn't a step farther on in your lab, but okay. You can tell this division of the heart right there. No, we don't have a real good view, do you? Maybe here. Okay, head's over here, so we're coming down from the head. Here's the lungs. Right. Here's the top of the heart. You see this little pigtail in the heart, so that's one of the atrias. Okay, I digress. Okay, thymus gland. Cut off the bottom of the trachea as it disappears. So before we cut off the bottom of the trachea, we're going to remove the top of the trachea from the mouth. Let me just clean up as much of the trachea as I can still. Now when you're starting to see some of the arteries, get rid of the gunk there. A big old artery right there. It's a brachiocephalic. Okay. So we have the trachea pretty well uncovered until it disappears kind of underneath these. You can see it under here still. How well you can see it. If I move that brachiocephalic artery out of the way, and trachea continues right there. And then it's going to start branching and going into our lungs. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the top of the mouth. And we're going to cut around an epiglottis. So we're actually going to make a square. And get rid of the bottom of the mouth. And what we're doing is we're going to take the trachea and almost dislodge it completely from the mouth. Let's separate it where it binds to the esophagus. Okay, we're going to cut it out here. Out of your mouth. Not out of your mouth, out of the cat's mouth. Okay, we are going to cut the transverse jugular, always right on top of the palm de cartilage of the voice box. Try to leave our esophagus intact. And just take, there it is. Okay, so we have the whole trachea right out of the mouth, and uncover our voice box here. That's still muscle tissue. Still has the bone right here. The bone protecting the voice box, the hyoid bone. Should be able to cut off some of that. There it comes. Okay. So that's your voice box. There's this little thing right here. Right. Before we go any further, let's just see. Probably one of the grossest things that I have most people do. No, we're going to cut the voice box off right now. We'll look at the voice box separately here in a second. We're going to cut the voice box off. Right. Set that to the side. So we're just looking into this trachea, into the straw. And without touching the end, the straw in there. And let's see if we can get a little lung action. If I blow into the straw. It's got some fluid in there. And maybe in this case, this particular one, we're not going to be able to check and see if it's, oh, it is. A little bit of dried blood in there, not too bad. Theoretically, I should be able to inflate that. Getting some movement, I don't know if you can tell. A little movement, not much filling up though. Alright, anyway, we're gonna pull in that trachea a little bit. Gonna lift those up out of the way. And just grab the trachea. Pull it out from under here. Trust me, it's going to help us out later when we do the veins and the arteries. There it comes. Alright. So back to the voice box here. So the voice box, as you know, is where we have our vocal cords. So if we cut right through the middle of the vocal, whoa, what happened? Okay. Cut right through the middle of that. Open up the voice box. We'll point out the vocal cords. So might not be so dramatic as you might think, but vocal cords are just like little flaps of tissue right here. And there, I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's dried blood in there. It's not usually there. It's kind of put some water on it maybe. Oh no, there we got it. Scraped away. Okay. Wish there was a way to show it to you better. So there's the inside of the voice box. You see this flap of skin right here? That's a vocal cord. We have a true vocal cord right there. A false vocal cord right there that's just protecting it. So you're going to have to look at a YouTube video and watch those vocal cords dance and send me the link. Let's see. A small portion of the lung tissue cut off. So back to the lung. I'm just going to take off a little piece of tissue. Get one so you can see inside of it. Right. There's a big opening right there. That's from bronchial. That's sending air into the lung tissue. I usually have you look under this in the microscope, but there's going to be lots of microscopic little circles here for the veins and the arteries. Right. But bronchial, pulmonary arteries and pulmonary veins are going to be in that tissue. Might be better if you just search up for a microscopic view of the lung tissue, right? But you can see the bronchial pretty good. All right. I think that's about it. Talks a little bit about ultrasounds, lung tissue, changing in DNA because of smoking. So, got some papers to write. So I think that is the end of this lab. And next I think we're working on circulatory system. No, sorry, digestive system is next. So, all right, signing out.